Welcome to Omeranger004, and today we will talk about Alfred Pennyworth. But before we start, please join me on Patreon by Omeranger004. Your small donation helps run the channel. With that out of the way, let's begin. Alfred Thaddeus Crane Pennyworth, or simply Alfred, is a fictional character appearing in American comic books published by DC Comics, most commonly in association with the superhero Batman. Pennyworth is depicted as Bruce Wayne's loyal and tireless butler, legal guardian, best friend, aide-de-camp, and surrogate father figure following the murders of Thomas and Martha Wayne. As a classically trained British actor and an ex-Special Operations Executive Operative of Honor and Ethics with connections within the intelligence community, he has been called Batman's Batman. 2, 3, 4. He serves as Bruce's moral anchor while providing comic relief with his sarcastic and cynical attitude. A vital part of the Batman mythos, Alfred was nominated for the Wizard Fan Award for Favorite Supporting Male Character in 1994. 5. In non-comics media, the character has been portrayed by actors Richard Dean Anderson, William Austin, Eric Wilton, Michael Gough, Michael Caine, Jeremy Irons and Douglas Hodge on film, and by Alan Napier, Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., Ian Abercrombie, David McCallum, and Sean Pertwee on television. Ralph Fiennes voiced Alfred in 2 animated films, and Martin Jarvis has voiced the character in the Batman Arkham video game series. A young version of Alfred, played by Jack Bannon, depicts him before he became the butler to the Wayne family in the television series Pennyworth. The character will be played by Andy Serkis in the 2022 film The Batman. In Alfred's first appearance, he was overweight and clean-shaven. However, when the 1943 Batman serial was released, William Austin, the actor who played Alfred, was trim and sported a thin mustache. DC editors wanted the comic Alfred to resemble his cinematic counterpart, so in Detective Comics number 83, January 1944, Alfred vacationed at a health resort, where he slimmed down and grew a mustache. 7. This look has remained with the character ever since, even surviving his apparent death, Comics 1, and resurrection. Alfred was originally conceived as a comedic foil for Batman and Robin. He spoke with a Cockney accent, and simply arrived on Wayne Manor's doorstep to announce that he was beginning his duties. 8. In most early tales, he made bungling attempts to be a detective on a par with the young masters. He was given a 4-page feature of his own, The Adventures of Alfred, in Batman number 22, April-May 1944, 9 Comics 3, and the feature lasted 13 issues, skipping Batman number 35, with the last story in Batman number 36. Comics 4. The stories followed a simple formula, with Alfred solving a crime and catching the culprits entirely by accident. In later years, the comedic aspects of the character were downplayed. Pre-Crisis. The pre-Crisis comics, the comics that were published by DC Comics between 1938 and 1984, established Alfred as a retired actor and intelligence agent who followed the deathbed wish of his dying father, whom he identified only as Jarvis, to carry on the tradition of serving the Wayne family. 10. To that end, Alfred introduced himself to Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson at Wayne Manor and insisted on becoming their butler. Although the pair did not want one, especially since they did not want to jeopardize their secret identities with a servant in the house, they did not have the heart to reject Alfred. The name, Pennyworth, was first used for Alfred in 1969-11, and thereafter it has been assumed that his father was named Jarvis Pennyworth. As it is customary for British domestic servants to be called by surname, it might have been implied on Alfred's introduction that Jarvis was the surname he shared with his father. The surname, Beagle, was explicitly used for Alfred starting in 1945-12, and on the introduction of Pennyworth, This is treated as having always been their name by Retcon. Initially, Alfred discovered their identities by accident. While fighting a burglar in Batman number 16, Alfred's first appearance, he accidentally hit a switch and opened a sliding panel leading to the Batcave. He is helpful to the duo, following them to a theater where they are captured, bound and gagged by a criminal gang, and rescues them after Batman attracts his attention by knocking a rope down before the crooks return. This was revised in Batman number 110, September 1957, during his first night at Wayne Manor. Alfred awoke to moaning and followed the sound to the secret passage to the staircase leading to the Batcave and met his would-be employers in their superhero identities with Batman wounded in the field. As it turned out, the wounds were actually insignificant, but Alfred's care convinced the residents that their butler could be trusted. Since then, Alfred cheerfully included the support staff duties of the dynamic duo on top of his regular tasks. Ironically, Alfred's loyalty would lead him to become a member of Batman's Rogues Gallery. While pushing Batman and Robin out of the way of a falling boulder, Alfred was seemingly killed in Detective number 328, June 1964. It was revealed in Detective number 356, October 1966, that he had been revived by a scientist named Brandon Crawford. His attempt at regeneration resulted in a dramatic change. Alfred awoke from his apparent death with pasty white skin with circular markings, superhuman powers, including telekinesis, and a desire to destroy Batman and Robin. Calling himself the Outsider, he indirectly battled the dynamic duo on a number of occasions, using others as his puppets. The Grasshopper Gang in Detective number 334, Zatanna in Detective number 336, and even the Batmobile itself in Detective number 340, and generally only appeared as a mocking voice over the radio. He did not physically appear in the comics until Detective number 356, when he is bathed again in the rays of the regeneration machine during a struggle with Batman, and returns to normal, with no memory of his time as a supervillain. 13. His time as the Outsider is collected in Showcase Presents Batman Volumes 1 and 2. Alfred was later reunited with his long-lost daughter, Julia Remarque, though this element was not included in post-crisis comics. Her mother was the war heroine Mademoiselle Marie, whom Alfred had met while working as an intelligence agent in occupied France during World War II. Post-crisis and Zero Hour. In the post-crisis comics continuity, Alfred has been the Wayne family butler all of Bruce's life and had helped his master establish his superhero career from the beginning. In addition, he was Bruce's legal guardian and father figure following the murder of his parents. Alfred's history has been modified several times over the years, creating assorted versions. In one such version, Alfred was hired away from the British royal family by Bruce's parents, and he virtually raised Bruce after they were murdered. Meanwhile, another version of Alfred's post-crisis life was slightly more closely linked to his pre-crisis counterpart. In this version, Alfred is an actor on the English stage who agrees to become the Waynes' butler to honor his father's dying wish that he continue the family business of serving the Waynes, his father having been butler for Bruce's grandparents. At the time he begins working for the Waynes, Bruce is a young child. After several months, Alfred voices the desire to quit and return home to continue his life as an actor. However, these plans are momentarily forgotten when young Bruce returns home after getting into a fight with a school bully. Alfred teaches Bruce to outsmart the bully, rather than using brute force. When Alfred's advice works, Bruce asks him to stay, and he agrees without a second thought. Shortly afterward, Bruce's parents are murdered, and Alfred steps in as the boy's legal guardian. Alfred later helps Bruce raise his adopted ward's Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, and Tim Drake, all of whom also become his crime-fighting partner, Robin. He also has close friendships with other members of the Batman family, including Barbara Gordon and Cassandra Cain. Alfred often acts as a father figure to Bruce, and a grandfather to Dick, Jason, and Tim. He is also highly respected by Batman's fellow superheroes, including Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and the original Teen Titans. Alfred has also been romantically linked to Dr. Leslie Tompkins, a Wayne family friend who is also aware of Bruce's secret identity. He ends the relationship after she apparently allows Stephanie Brown to die from neglect. He also develops feelings for Tim Drake's stepmother, but again, nothing comes of it. In the Nightfall story arc, Alfred watches helplessly as Batman slowly crumbles under the pressure of fighting every escaped criminal in Arkham Asylum, who were set free by Bane. When Bane breaks Batman's back, Alfred tries to treat the injury, but Batman remains paraplegic and a wheelchair user. During the events of NightQuest, Alfred accompanies Bruce to England and becomes enraged when he insists on endangering his own health. This is the culmination of several weeks of Bruce's self-destructive behavior, and when Bruce returns to Gotham City, Alfred remains in England, tendering his resignation. He spends some time vacationing in Antarctica and the Bahamas before returning to England. Dick Grayson tracks him down several months later and convinces him to return to Wayne Manor. In that story, it is revealed he had walked out of his own wedding years earlier. His resourcefulness comes to the fore in the No Man's Land storyline, especially in Legends of the Dark Knight number 118. Batman goes missing for weeks, leaving Alfred alone to watch his city for him. He uses his skills as an actor, storyteller, medic, and spy to survive and collect information on the recently destroyed Gotham City. Alfred even uses hand-to-hand combat in a rare one-panel fight sequence between him and a pair of slavers that ends with his rescue by Batman. In Batman number 677, agents of Batman's mysterious enemy Black Glove attack and beat Alfred in front of Bruce and Jezebel Jet, severely injuring him. In the same issue, a reporter from the Gotham Gazette suggests to Commissioner Jim Gordon that Alfred may be Bruce's biological father and that this may be a reason for the murder of Bruce's mother Martha. Alfred later denies the entire story, agreeing with Bruce that it was a fabrication. In the Batman and the Outsiders special, Alfred is seen apologizing at the graves of Thomas and Martha Wayne for Bruce's death, commenting that he grieves as a parent, regarding Bruce as his son. Later, a secret panel in Alfred's room opens, the result of a fail-safe planted by Bruce in the event of his death. Bruce leaves him one final task and also bids him an emotional goodbye, telling Alfred he considered him as a father. Alfred is left emotionally shattered, commenting more than once that, even if his biological fatherhood is a fabrication, in a deeper sense he actually was Bruce Wayne's father, having watched over him for years and feeling he failed him in the last moments. After the event of Final Crisis, when Batman is apparently killed in action, Alfred finds himself with the task of raising Bruce's biological son Damian with Grayson. Batman. Battle for the Cowl sees Alfred allowing Damian to take on his first mission as Robin, giving Damian a Robin tunic and calling on the Squire to assist the new boy wonder in finding Tim Drake, who went missing hunting down Jason Todd. Alfred also assists Grayson in his role as Gotham's new Dark Knight. After discovering that the original Batman was actually lost in time after his battle with Darkseid, Alfred immediately seeks clues to his whereabouts. Eventually, Bruce finds his way to the present. After Batman successfully expands his mission globally with Batman Inc., Bruce assumes full responsibility as a father, and Alfred assists him in raising Damian. The New 52. In the New 52, it is revealed that Alfred's father Jarvis Pennyworth was the butler of the Wayne family before Alfred when Bruce was a child. Jarvis was blackmailed by the Court of Owls to set a trap for the pregnant Martha Wayne. Despite declining, the court managed to cause a car accident that caused the child to be born prematurely and eventually to have died. Jarvis attempted to resign from his services and write a letter to his son in which he describes the manor as a cursed place, and tells Alfred that he should not begin his service under the Wayne family. However, Jarvis was unable to send it as he was murdered that night. Comics 5. During Batman Eternal, Alfred is reunited with his long-absent daughter, Julia Pennyworth, an agent of the Special Reconnaissance Regiment, when Batman finds her in Hong Kong and takes her back to Wayne Manor for medical treatment after she is stabbed with a samurai sword through the chest by a Chinese gang boss she was hunting. 14. Julia is initially hostile to Alfred, feeling that he has wasted his life going from a soldier to tending to a fop like Bruce Wayne. However, after Alfred is attacked by Hush and infected with a fear toxin, 15. She discovers the Batcave and takes on her father's role to coordinate the Bat family's efforts against their foes. 16. Alfred is briefly transferred to Arkham Asylum before it is attacked as part of the conspiracy, but he manages to survive the explosion and trick Bane into helping him reach an emergency cave Batman had installed under Arkham, the cave's defenses knocking Bane out and allowing Alfred to call for help. 17. When Hush was briefly kept prisoner in the Batcave, he managed to break out of his cell and lock Alfred in it before sabotaging the Batman family's equipment via the Batcomputer as they fought various villains, including crashing the Batwing with Batman still in it. However, he was swiftly returned to captivity when Alfred escaped the cell and knocked Hush out, Alfred harshly informing Tommy that he was hardly going to be locked up in his own home. 18. During the Batman Endgame arc, the Joker broke into the Batcave, and during a confrontation with Alfred, cut off Alfred's right hand. Julia confirms to Bruce later in the issue that Alfred survived the encounter and is in a stable condition. Volume and issue needed. Following the death of Bruce Wayne, Julia says that with current medical technology, they can have Alfred's hand reattached without any complications. However, Alfred refuses, stating that with Bruce dead, he no longer has need of it as he has no one left to serve. Even with the loss of Bruce as Batman, Alfred still assists the Batman family in the Batcave along with Julia. After Bruce is discovered to be alive but with no memory of who he is or of his life as Batman, Alfred tells Bruce everything that had happened in his life up to the point of the creation of Batman, but accepts Bruce's request not to learn any more. Alfred did this so that, after years of service to the people of Gotham and the world, Bruce could finally accept his reward of a life without pain and the burning desire to be Batman, allowing his life as Bruce Wayne to finally begin. However, when the new villain Mr. Bloom launches a mass attack that apparently kills Jim Gordon, the new Batman, the amnesic Bruce pieces together enough information to deduce that he was once Batman, and convinces Alfred to subject him to a machine that will theoretically download all of his memories as Batman into his mind. Bruce's original plan was for the machine to be used to create a series of clones of himself that could be programmed to continue his mission, but although the process failed because simulations confirmed that the human mind could not handle Batman's trauma, Bruce comes through the process by having Alfred take him to the point of brain death and then download his memories onto his blank brain. 19. With his master restored, Alfred's hand is subsequently reattached, Bruce joking that they used a random hand from the reserves rather than keeping Alfred's hand on ice all this time. 20. DC Rebirth. Following the 2016 DC Rebirth continuity reboot, Alfred appears in Detective Comics in the third volume of Batman, as well as in All-Star Batman. In the latter, Alfred is among the many Gotham citizens blackmailed by Two-Face into stopping Batman from providing his former self, Harvey Dent, a cure for his split personality. Alfred in particular reluctantly shoots down the Batwing as Batman is flying it. When asked, Alfred reveals his secret. Years earlier, he had hired a hitman to kill the Joker after the villain murdered Jason Todd and crippled Barbara Gordon. Alfred soon cancelled the hit, however, after realizing that committing cold-blooded murder would betray Batman's ideals. In Batman number 77, part of the City of Bane storyline, an evil version of Thomas Wayne from an alternate dimension invades Gotham City and defeats Batman, and uses Alfred as a hostage to keep the rest of the Bat family out. At Thomas's behest, Bane breaks Alfred's neck, killing him after Robin sneaks into Gotham City to rescue him and defeat Bane. When Bruce comes back to Gotham, he is captured and shown Alfred's body, but a recorded message reveals that he arranged for his own death so that Bruce could come back and stop Thomas, the message reaffirming Alfred's faith in Bruce as the true Batman. 21. In Nightwing number 78, Barbara visits Dick Grayson and reveals that Alfred was a billionaire, due to stock from Wayne Industries after Alfred became Bruce's legal guardian. Barbara then tells Dick that Alfred has left his fortune to Dick in his will. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more videos about your favorite comics, movies are coming soon. Join me on Patreon by Omaranger004. Your small donation helps run the channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.